For exercise 2-7, we're starting to get into some more complex geometry. This one here is done in inches. And in this one here, I'm going to be talking about a lot of different commands, but a lot of these commands, we're going to use the same way that we've been using the line command, and we're also going to kind of do a couple of things in here that are going to be sort of like shortcuts that might help you out a little bit. Especially with like the curved sections on the side of this. To get a circle lined up in there and to get that all right can sometimes be a little bit of a challenge. So rather than doing it that way, I'm going to use some other tactics to actually get where those things go. So to get started with this one here, I am going to go to my templates drop down and select no template imperial. And then we'll go ahead and start by drawing our first line. So that's the line command, enter or L enter, click my start point, and this is going to go over 5 inches. To get to this point that goes up here, I know that it's 2.5 inches to the center point of a radius 1 fillet. So if I take my 2.5 and I subtract that 1, I get 1.5. So I'm going to bring this up 1.5. And then I'm going to draw this as if the fillets don't exist. So I'm just going to come over 1, and then I can go up my total height. Now, if I had the 1.5 height to where I am right now, if I subtract 1.5 from 4, I get 2.5. So I know this goes up another 2.5. At this point, I know that I can bring this over 0.5. Then down 0.5. And then from there, it's going to go over 2. And then it's just going to go up to the same distance as this, back over 0.5. I'm going to bring it down to the same distance as this, out to the same distance as this, and then left click to close the object. So here I've basically got the rough overall outside shape, and I need to add the fillets in here to make these round. So I want to do a full radius fillet. So my radius is 1. So if I come up here and I click on fillet, you'll see in my command line it says select first object or undo polyline radius trim multiple. Well, if you look, the first letter of each of these is highlighted. So I can either type R enter, or I can just click on the word radius and it'll ask me to put in the radius. In this case, I'll put in 1 and then hit enter. And then I can select the 2 lines where my fillet occurs and it fillets the object. I can go back up to the radius command, or I can just hit enter to get right back into it. And since my radius is already set up, I don't have to type that again, and that's going to give me those curved surfaces. The next thing that I want to do is I want to draw the rectangle that goes in the middle of this. Now, again, there's a lot of different ways to do this, and for this week's purposes, I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this rather than any type of tricks. I'm going to start just by drawing a rectangle down here on this corner. This is where this is dimensioned from. It goes in 1.5 and up 1, but this will allow me to create the rectangle the size that I need. In this case, it's going to be 2, 1. And that's going to give me the appropriately sized rectangle that I need. Since it's an R of 0.5 on both sides, that means that the radius over here is 0.5, which gives me a total height of 1. I can now move this, so I'm going to go to the move command, select this rectangle, and after I hit enter, it's going to tell me to pick my base point. And I'm just going to click out here somewhere because I don't want to accidentally use any of the snaps from this object. So I'll left click right here. And from the left, this thing is 1.5, so it needs to go 1.5 to the right, or an X of 1.5, and up 1, which is a Y of 1. So I can now type at 1.5, 1, and that puts this thing into the correct location for me. And that's actually should be to the middle. So what I really should have done was move this thing so that the middle was right here, and then I can do the move and just do my at 1.5, 1, and that puts it where it needs to be. Now I'm going to go to the circle command, and I'm going to click on the midpoint and the end point on both sides of this to give me the 2 rounded edges. Then I'm going to go to the trim command, And right now it's telling me to select the cutting edges or hit enter to select all. And I just want to go ahead and use everything as a cutting edge. It's going to make my life a lot easier. So I'm just going to hit enter. And then it's going to ask me to select the objects to trim. Well, I want this to go away, this to go away, this to go away, and this to go away. Once those are all gone, I can hit enter. And what I'm left with is exercise 2.7 completed. And there's a couple of things that I did in here that are shortcuts. So if you missed anything in the video, make sure you go back and watch this a couple of times so that you can really start to get a feel for some of the shortcuts that you can use in the software.